It's so amazing to have you, Tanya. You've been connected, you've been engaged this entire time during this event, and it's just such a pleasure to have you as a speaker today.
I am delighted to be here. I am on the edge of glory. I am an irresistible brand. I'm all of that. Yes.
Yes. And I love that your topic is one of my favorites. It's how to become a badass broadcaster. So I just absolutely love that. That's so aligned with becoming an irresistible brand. And let me just quickly share about Tanya's amazing experience. Tanya Bayne is the founder and principal of TV Consulting LLC. She utilizes her business expertise, life experiences, and skills to help other women entrepreneurs navigate their way through their toughest times and transition to redefining their next and best. She retired after a 40-year career with a leading communications company where she held leadership positions across the organization, ultimately delivering an extensive track record of driving revenue, growing market share, developing leaders, and improving productivity and profitability. Tanya is here because she is a multimedia communications professional, a television and digital podcast host, an executive coach, and a motivational speaker with personal growth expertise. And I definitely wanted to mention this, that as president and board chair for the Buddy Speaks Foundation, she's committed to supporting and growing the foundation in its mission and vision to provide education and awareness to help prevent and end childhood sexual abuse. So thank you so much, Tanya, for being here, for sharing your voice and your message. I appreciate it.
I
Yes, thank
appreciate
you.
you. What you have put together is amazing. I have to say, over the years, I have participated in who can count how many summits and speakers and conventions and so forth and so on. And I don't have to say this, but this is the truth. This is the best. I have learned so much over the past 3 days that is actionable. It's actionable. Every day I walked away with something. It was worth every moment that I spent here. And so hats off to you. I appreciate you. And now you can't get rid of me.
And vice versa, which is actually really funny because you have to get rid of me for a second because I have to plug in my computer.
Okay, well, plug in your
Stay
computer.
tuned.
And in the meantime, how's everybody else doing out there? Good. Let me see some hands. Okay. Yes, this has been amazing. This platform. Make sure that you're able to connect with each other, even if it's somebody who hasn't been in one of your rooms or someone that you may have missed, because this is an opportunity to network. So you want to be able to take advantage of that. So there's the commercial.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's dive in. And okay, so I love that after retiring from a very successful career in communications, you started a new career and are lending your voice to support causes that you care about. I'd love to learn more about that and what really spurred that, starting this new career.
We have a half an hour, so I have to remember that. I had a great career, and I worked for a communications company. I worked my way up from a part-time temporary cordboard operator into a position, and when I look back, it was nothing but God. Okay, into a position where I was able to be a leader and model that anything can happen. You just need the desire, the drive, and to do the work. So I really retired to take care of my mom. And that was a journey. Yeah, that's a book probably in and of itself. So I did that, but transitioning into being a voice, so to speak, has to do, I was born to do this. All right. I was born to do this. And when you take those, assessments of, oh, what am I going to be? What am I passionate about? All those things that you go through. Uh, it always came up that I would say my spiritual gift was to be an exhorter. So I was the hear ye person. Okay. If someone had what struck me as something important to say and that was impactful and they were, reluctant to say it or not in a position to say it, I found a way to say it in a way that it could be received. I can translate messages that might come across as too aggressive or assertive and turn people off into what is it that people really need to hear and how is it that they need to hear it. So becoming the voice for other causes is something that I was really just born to do. I was a middle child.
Any other middle childs? I was the youngest, but I understand you because my sister was a middle child and I get it.
And also I watched, in thinking about this question, excellent question, I watched it happen at home. So when, I grew up in a Hispanic Caribbean household, and I was being trained to be a good Hispanic wife. That didn't happen. According to their standards. They should have known better. And but what I did is I watched my family and I watched my parents and my father in particular. And people would come to him. So I come from a family of counselors and people who spoke up for other people. And I watched people come to the house, and my mother was never really happy about it. And that's where I took my opportunity to greet people as they would come in and, sit down and listen to what their story was and watch how my father, okay, a man of color in the 1950s, would represent others. All right. And that's what I watched. And I quickly became his clerk because I love to read and write and watched him use his voice in order to help others. So I grew up with that. And it was a chance to kind of stand out and do things on my own. So that's kind of how that came about in using my voice. I also have a special needs child. And when she was born, I was told that, we'll get her in a program and she'll make belts, she's an amazing, outstanding woman who has a whole bunch of kids here with her. They're not kids, but with her today, I do not believe that anything is impossible. And there's a way to make it happen. And I'm the one that can help you make that happen, by using your voice, by developing a way so that you can put it together and get it said and make the difference that you need to make.
Amen. And I've seen comments in the chat about, people loving your energy, and absolutely yes. So I know what the piece about becoming a badass broadcaster, I thought that really stood out to me. And I want, if you can share, what are some ways that anyone can become a badass broadcasters?
All right.
Badass.
It's about the passion. Okay. It's about the passion around the message that you want to deliver and being clear about it. And so often we hear just do it, but there's some stuff behind the just do it. It does require, and this is something I've learned over time, and I watched my dad do preparation, research. Sometimes things just come from your gut, and I say go for it. But you need to do the research so that when people question you or you're developing questions for others, you have a baseline of where to come from. All right. You need to use your voice from your soul. People say, oh, your diaphragm, that's good too. I mean, you want to get the techniques and the whole thing as well, but using the voice that you have in your soul, in your spirit, because that's what's coming from the universe. That is what's going to drive you. And then there are the technical, kind of the technical parts of it. And I will say, don't get stuck in that, because my little tip sheet is going to give you some basic background on that. And you can always get somebody to do that for you. But it's about developing your message, understanding what is at the core of that, and how it is people need to receive it in order to make a difference in their lives. And that's in anything. And we've found that across all of the speakers that we've had. Even when we're in breakout groups, when you're talking about your thing, you're feeling it. Okay. You may not think you are, but you really are. And being able to hone in and define that and express that is what it is that really makes the difference.
You mentioned, you were talking about okay, so let me just back up a second. Absolutely passion. It's, part of your mission. It drives your voice, it drives your message. So absolutely, I love that you brought that up. Now, you mentioned earlier, or at least I had alluded to being on TV. So I had read that you were in cable TV. I would love for you to share how you got into that, and how that evolved.
So what a story. When I was working in corporate America, I would do, at the time they had corporate TV. And because of the energy that people received, I had the opportunity to do some of the corporate TV work because I'm a talker from New York. And so I had the opportunity to do that. I was invited to a show to talk about a women's wellness product, a non-toxic sanitary napkin, which I still support, to talk about that on cable TV. I did that with a group of, my business associates, and the host of the program pulled me aside and she said, I want to work with you. She had great contacts, but her presence, okay, her ability to get that energy from behind the camera into the living rooms or wherever people were was limited, and she recognized that. So she gave me the opportunity to be a co-host with her, and I was like, okay, it's talking. Why not? I hadn't tried it before. And that really evolved into, from that program, and this was live. This was live. So I learned about producing and the run sheet. And I have 33 seconds to do this. And, we've got to go to cut. And if this change, you've got to be able to be flexible. And I loved it. And I really thrived in that environment. When that particular initiative was over, I began getting invitations to speak, to be on other people's show, to be on podcasts, really just to not only elevate the products that I represented, but really highlight other causes. So that was my entree, was really starting to talk about something about me, and then being invited to do other things. I then transitioned into having my own online show where I did interviews with people. And it started really as a challenge in one of those Facebook groups. And that challenge turned into, an ongoing show where last year I did over 150 broadcasts.
Wow.
It wore me out. Don't do that.
Or maybe do that,
maybe do that, okay? Because I had the opportunity to interview amazing guests. And really, last year was the year where, it is time, to talk about COVID-19, to bring the people on, to talk about causes, to talk about what's going on in the community, talk about what's working and what's not working, and how do we organize, and what is it that we could do in order to make a difference. So I took that and just ran with it, and I clicked on buttons, to make that happen. And it's something, I took a little break from it because for me, it just became overwhelming with COVID-19 and, all of those issues. But now I'm here and I'm ready, all right, to leverage that, to my next and best. Yes.
Mm, amazing. I love that story. And a lot of people, what I like about challenges is that it does get the energy moving so you have momentum. So, maybe the lesson there is like 150 times it can burn you out, but maybe you needed to have that
Yes.
consistency and momentum to really get that, get the momentum going.
Absolutely. I agree. Wore me out, but there were lots of lessons there. And I got to meet people like Baylor, all right,
Right.
who's my mentor and coach, and said, honey, what are you doing? Here's a better way to do that.
Amazing, amazing. So, all right. So you had the show, you were on TV, you it became a digital
Yeah.
host and multimedia. And so how does all of this help to elevate a brand or your brand?
Wow. People talk about exposure. It is about exposure. And it gives me, this is exposure, meeting and talking to people like you. So I would say that's important to elevate your brand is exposure. The other thing is getting specific. And I love the questions that you asked, all right, because it was a challenge that I'm actually still working through is getting specific, narrow your focus, get clarity. What is it? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And how in the heck am I going to do this? That really is able to enhance the natural abilities that you may have, all right, and bring it into a focus that then elevates your brand and really helps you hone in on those three things being clear and delivering that message that way.
Mm. And I know that you now coach and consult other women entrepreneurs. So something that we had talked about earlier is getting stuck and
Mhm.
unstuck. I'd love for you. I know you have a process to shift for people to shift to success. Can you share that process of getting unstuck?
Yeah, it really is. And people go through it at different stages and different levels. I'm going to say that number one, it's about clarity. And there's no way to get around that. What happened, looking back and going through, some people call it the dark night of the soul and, those kind of things. But getting clear on what it is that you want to do, where it is that you want to go, what is it that's holding you back? Got to peel back the onion because, and I've experienced this, and, I'm a witness.
Mm,
I jumped in and I started doing my broadcasts and this, that, and the other thing. And in taking the time to look back, I hadn't really gotten clear.
mm,
So, although I can speak, in order to be more effective, there's still some work that I need to do to really reach the hearts and minds of folks. So, doing that work, building up your confidence, identifying those issues that, that hold you back, those fears that you had there, that whole imposter syndrome thing, you know, that I constantly, we talked about it, this weekend as well. Very. So working at that and then developing a plan. You got to get a plan and work a plan. You got to get a plan and work a plan and understand that parts of it are constantly evolving. So what I did last year, as great as it was, okay, there's something a little bit different for me now. So for women, it's just like, okay, we understand some of this. It's a constant work. Now, what's the plan? All right. And let's start getting to it, really peeling back the onion, even in the pain, because
Mm.
there's pain involved in some of that. I'm just going to speak from my own experience. It's dealing with the pain. The other thing that's important in relating to people is being transparent. What you see is what you get. You don't ever have to worry about me showing up as somebody else, as something else. This is it. This is me. It got me here. Okay. And I'm not hurting anybody. All right. Even when I'm saying things people may not want to hear, but
Mhm.
I'm going to do that. So it's being whether it's authentic. It's authentic because I can wake up every morning and look in that mirror. Okay. And, it's me, and the universe is me and my God, that ultimately decide. And that it's just a small part of the journey. And I'm going to also say is understanding that we need help. How about a coach? How about a coach? How about investing in yourself? Laying out that plan and getting people who will support you. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I love my family. They love me, but they're not necessarily my audience or my biggest supporters. They're like, oh, there's Tanya talking again. Okay.
Who else resonates with that? I absolutely do. Yes.
They love me. They really do. And they're like, what are you doing now when I sent this out? Like, they're like, happy 68th birthday, and you're doing what? I'm still talking because it's important. So discovering and rediscovering, it's like reset, okay? Reset, renew, reset, and then reset is release. Let's get some of that junk up out of there. Okay. Renew. Let's pour into yourself. Let's pour in what you need. All right. And then rise. Just take off. Just take off to wherever it is, and when you have a plan, you're going to be directed in getting there.
You said something that was really powerful, and I want to just extract something and then um, continue with this thought. You mentioned authenticity, speaking from your soul. And when I think of a badass broadcaster, that is someone who is going to speak truth
Mm-hmm.
authentically and genuinely. And even going back to RV's message, she was talking about why your message matters and just speaking that message. When you think of who is a badass broadcaster, in fact, if anybody wants to type in, who do you think of when you think of a badass broadcaster? There are people who are just so unapologetic about their message and their voice that you can't help but listen to them. You want to listen to them. And that's part of delivering a message that lands with your audience. And so you embody this so well, Tanya, because when you speak, people listen, they lean in, they want to hear, right? So I think that's so powerful. The reason I'm asking this now is because there are probably some people here who want to be a badass broadcaster and they maybe haven't started yet or want to start. So what are one or two ways to start?
One or two ways to start. All right. It's identifying those things that hold you back. All right. And understanding that some of those things will take a minute. Some of those things will take a minute, or even there's some things that you need to, you may not ever resolve. All right. So just kind of honing that and putting it in the corner. There's some things that stay in a little corner in my brain. Okay. And as time goes on, childhood sexual abuse, being able to embody that came up later. But it's certainly a personal experience. So even if all of your challenges aren't resolved, being able to push through anyway. One of our speakers talked about don't wait for perfection. Do not wait for perfection because people, in my opinion, find it difficult to relate to perfection because that's not who I am.
Mm.
Okay, that's not who I am. And your message will resonate more effectively if you're coming from that. If you're coming from that. Those challenges, the old imposter syndrome. Oh my God, why?
Let's just banish that, even the
And
term forever.
thank you. At least we have a name for it now, Before it was like, well, why do I feel like that?
I wanted to say some in the chat. We had Oprah, Bill Moyer or
Bill
Meyer.
Moyer, yes, Bill Moyer.
Yeah, I don't recognize that.
Yes.
Diane Sawyer and Brene Brown. So,
And
so
there's so many. And so I would also challenge folks to look around in your own circle. Like we see these people on television and they seem so far away and it's so difficult for you to relate to it or be, I'm going to be like that person. Look around. Look around in your family, look around in your community, look down the street. All right. There are people who are broadcasting, okay, in ways that we don't think about, because if we don't see them on social media or one of these little media things that I have over here, and it's important to connect with all of those things, Clubhouse and all the ones we haven't figured out yet, but look around you, okay, and see who's walking in a way, okay? Look right here, look next to me, okay? Broadcasting, people think about radio and TV and all of that, but how I feel is broadcasting is really, again, speaking from the depths or even not even speaking, because people would rather kill themselves than speak sometimes. But what is it? What is it that you have in here that you want to go out there? And it can be in written form, it can be in acting, it can be in singing, it can be in dancing. So broadcasting that message, people are doing that all around you.
Beautiful. So with that, I wanted to share that you have a gift, and it says it's called the Going Live Basics Checklist,
Yes.
which I love. And that actually can support anybody who's wanting to start. And as we wrap, I'd love everyone to just pour into Tanya, give some love in the chat. Let us know what was a major takeaway. And as we end, Tanya, one last question. What advice would you give your younger self?
I heard that question all weekend, and I was like, what in the heck would I tell me? People would always tell me be quiet, but that's definitely not it. So quite frankly, and I'm going to answer the question, but the whole time I was growing up, it's like, does she be quiet? Like, does she not have a why? Does she not have her hand up with a question? Like, really, this one? Okay. However, what it is for me is give yourself permission. Give yourself permission. You don't need anybody to give you permission. Give yourself permission. Again, of course, the baseline is you're not out to harm someone. Okay. But you got it. Why you need somebody else's permission? I'll take a beating. Okay. And I have. Okay, because it's so important.
Thank you so much, Tanya. This has been enlightening for me. I know everyone just felt your spirit and felt your energy. So thank you so much. And you've got a lot of love in the comments, the chat. And we'll do let's send Tanya away with our claps and. For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexanderfigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.